You don't notice when you shift timelines, and that's exactly what makes everything more confusing, and at the same time more real. Because this change doesn't start outside, it starts inside, in small signs that most people feel but ignore. But here's an important detail. There is one of these signs, specifically the fourth, that when you understand it, something shifts instantly. And if while you're watching, you feel a slight discomfort, or even recognize exactly what's happening in your life, comment here. This explained a lot. It's not about the video. It's about you realizing that you're already in this process, because a timeline is not something mystical. It's the direction your life begins to take based on what you sustain internally. Thoughts, feelings, decisions. When that changes, your reality changes along with it. But before it appears outside, the signs appear inside. And the first one is impossible to ignore once you recognize it. You don't notice when you shift timelines. And that's exactly what makes everything more confusing. And at the same time, more real. Because this change doesn't start outside. It starts inside, in small signs that most people feel but ignore. But here's an important detail. There is one of these signs, specifically the fourth, that when you understand it, something shifts instantly. And if while you're watching, you feel a slight discomfort, or even recognize exactly what's happening in your life, comment here. This explained a lot. It's not about the video. It's about you realizing that you're already in this process. Because a timeline is not something mystical. It's the direction your life begins to take based on what you sustain internally. Thoughts, feelings, decisions. When that changes, your reality changes along with it. But before it appears outside, the signs appear inside. And the first one is impossible to ignore once you recognize it. Sudden clarity about what you want or no longer want. Suddenly, something changes in the way you decide. Before, everything felt confusing. You overthought, you went back and forth. You tried to be absolutely certain before acting. Now, it becomes direct. You look at a situation and simply know, this makes sense. This doesn't anymore. No effort, no overanalyzing. And the most curious part is that this clarity doesn't come with euphoria. It comes neutral, as if the mind stopped arguing with you, because before there was a silent conflict. One part wanted, another doubted. One part moved forward, another held back. Now that disappears. And when this internal conflict disappears, something very important happens. Your energy stops splitting. And when it stops splitting, reality begins to respond more precisely. But here's the point almost no one notices. This clarity doesn't show up only about what you want, it shows up mainly about what you no longer accept. Conversations you used to tolerate start to feel exhausting, environments that once felt normal start to feel uncomfortable. Old patterns start to become obvious. This is not confusion, it's selection. It's your awareness reorganizing priorities. And when that happens, something begins to change automatically inside the mind. Sudden changes in the way you think. Without you noticing, your way of thinking begins to change, and it's not effort. You're not trying to think differently. It simply starts happening. Old thoughts lose strength. That repetitive worry no longer takes up as much space. That constant doubt no longer feels so relevant. That negative narrative starts to fail, and in its place, new ideas appear. But not as something you're forcing. They come ready, clear, simple, direct, as if they were already there, waiting for space. And here comes a detail that changes everything. Your mind starts functioning as if it were already in another reality. You think in a way that doesn't match your current scenario, but matches the scenario that is forming. And this creates a powerful effect. You begin to mentally anticipate a reality that hasn't arrived yet. And when this happens consistently, reality begins to follow. Not because you forced it, but because your internal reference has changed. And when the reference changes, the world starts reorganizing around it. And it's exactly at this point that something begins to appear outside, in a way that is impossible to ignore. Unusual synchronicities. At some point, what was only inside begins to appear outside, and not in an obvious way, but in a way that catches your attention. The so-called coincidences begin to increase. You think about something, and someone mentions exactly that. You look for an answer, and it appears unexpectedly. You consider an idea, and signs show up reinforcing that direction. At first, it seems random, but it starts happening too often. And here's the point that changes everything. It's not that the universe suddenly started responding. It's that now there is enough alignment for you to perceive the response, because these connections have always existed. But before, your mind was too busy or too misaligned to notice. Now it's not. Now your focus is clearer. And when focus becomes clear, reality starts responding more precisely. It's as if you tuned into a frequency and started picking up signals that previously went unnoticed. And here's something different that almost no one talks about. Test this consciously. Choose a simple theme. It can be an idea, a goal, or even a question. And throughout the day, keep a light awareness on it. Without forcing it, you'll begin to notice small connections appearing. A sentence, a conversation, a piece of information. This shows that you're not just thinking. You're interacting with the field. And if you've already started noticing this kind of synchronicity in your life, comment here. It's happening. Because when you recognize these patterns, your mind begins to open even more to them. And if this kind of content is making you notice things that previously went unnoticed, subscribe to the channel. Because the next sign is where many people get confused and think they're losing something, when in fact they're changing phases. People drifting away or changing behavior. This is the fourth sign, and also one of the most uncomfortable, while at the same time being one of the most revealing. Suddenly, some connections begin to change. People who used to be very present begin to drift away naturally. Conversations lose depth, and interests that once aligned simply no longer match, and this can create doubt. Is something wrong? Did I change too much? Am I losing important things? But here's the point. Almost no one understands. You're not losing. You're becoming misaligned with what no longer matches you. Because when your internal state changes, your field changes. And when the field changes, everything that doesn't correspond begins to leave naturally. No need for conflict. No need for arguments. It simply no longer fits. And at the same time, something new begins to appear. New connections, new conversations, new people who seem to understand you more easily. And this happens effortlessly, without you needing to chase it, because now it's no longer about searching. It's about compatibility. And this is one of the clearest signs of a timeline shift. But there is still a moment when this transition becomes even more evident, because you begin to feel strange within the very reality that has always been yours. Shift in perceived time. This is the last sign. Pay attention. Time begins to behave differently. Some days pass very quickly. Others feel longer than they should. Simple moments feel more intense. And certain situations seem to happen at the exact time, almost synchronized. But it's not the clock that changed. It's the way you are experiencing time. When your mind is misaligned, time tends to feel heavy, slow, dragging, always lacking something. But when there is more alignment, something changes. You become more present. And when that happens, time stops being just something that passes and starts becoming something you experience more consciously. And here is the most interesting detail. You begin to notice that some things happen at the right timing, not before, not after, as if there were an organization happening behind the scenes, and you were beginning to follow that flow. It's not control, it's tuning, and when you reach this point, you realize something that connects all the previous signs. You didn't change reality in a magical way. You changed your state and began moving into a different direction of experience. And that's why everything starts inside: clarity, thought, feeling, actions, perception, emotion, time. None of these are separate things. They are parts of the same adjustment. And when that adjustment truly happens, reality doesn't need to be forced. It simply begins to follow.